Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being on today's Producer's Mindset. I know with the holiday weekend, a lot of us are out and about already, but I appreciate you all for being here and having a moment to have a chat with Mr. Joe McMahon. How you doing this morning?
Very well.
Awesome,
Thank
awesome.
you for inviting me.
Yeah. I know it was kind of last minute, but this is a gentleman that definitely just stood up to the challenge and says, not a problem, no hesitations whatsoever. So thank you again. What are your plans for this weekend?
Well, we're gonna have some friends and family over, probably make some burgers,
Okay.
traditional stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe throw in watching some NHL playoffs.
Beautiful. So no plans of leaving out of town like a lot of us.
We used to do that years ago on a Friday afternoon, try to get to San Diego.
Yeah.
Holiday weekend.
Right.
I'm too old for that.
So why real estate, Joe? What made you go into real estate? Let's go with that conversation.
Okay, well, my wife and I on vacation, and I was looking at where my career was going with, I was immediately prior to this, I was doing video production independently. And technology was advancing so rapidly and prices were dropping so quickly.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to me. And just looking back over my career, I've been in sales for almost 30 years, and originally in publishing and then in online publishing, and then doing the video production management training. There's always been a strong sales aspect to it.
Got it.
But real estate offered me the opportunity to use my sales skills in a longer process. It's not just, well, Smile and Dial is part of it.
Right.
It's not the only part of it. Once you have a client, they can be really big ticket repeat customers.
Sure.
So that was kind of what brought me along. And my wife encouraged me. She thought my personality lent itself to this type.
Well, you definitely have a great personality. I never see you upset. And the time that I've met you and you're part of this office, you do your thing, you come in, you're in your bunker, making your calls, checking out inventory, but I always see you, with a smile all the time. So that shows a lot.
Well, thank you. I think it's not always that way, but most of the time it is. And I think
But you did it well.
that's part of my value, I think, and one of the most important values that I bring to the process is being able to just let things bounce off.
Sure.
When you're responding to a request for repairs or something, and the answer is no, and they start to lose it, and you just have to sit there and go, it's still no.
Well, and that's a great segue because I think it's important that as real estate professionals, we have to play that referee, right? But also taking out the emotions, right? Because if we're in the chaos of our clients' emotions, that can also go sideways immediately and kill the deal. So we have to hold that composure day in and day out, through the beginning, during an escrow, and sometimes after, right? So the essence of what we do is we're just not realtors, we're marketers, negotiators, we're therapists, and all of the above, right?
Yes. One of the things that I've been working on in that vein is it's very easy to have a preconceived notion, or for me to think that I know why somebody's doing something. And I have to check myself and say, I don't know why they're doing it. I just know this is what they're doing. And take all that conjecture out of it.
Yeah. Tell us, Joe, a little bit of what your day looks like.
Okay, well, at 5:50, the alarm goes off. I roll out of bed once I hear the coffee maker. But then I'll go for a walk, mile and a half.
Good.
Start my day.
Yeah.
Come to the office. I do some calling from home. I get to the office around 10 o'clock. Go through more emails and send out, update my programs for my emails and that sort of thing. And then in the afternoon, I'll do some more late afternoon calls.
And that's pretty consistent,
Yeah,
because every day I see you here, every single day doing your commitment and your lead gen, which is very important. That's part of what we do, right? It's not like business comes our way, right? We have to go out there and hunt for business, right? And you're a perfect example of that, that you're diligent, you're consistent, and you show up. And I think that's a valuable asset for a lot of us that are either barely getting into real estate, have been in the industry for a while, is the consistency of what we do,
Yeah,
so.
I know, my very first year, I had nothing. And it was very difficult, but I had to make the calls and I had to, just get that rhythm going. I don't use an auto dialer today, but I started using one back then, just so that I could get in the number of calls necessary.
Gotcha. So let's go on your first year adventure of real estate. Did you go in all in full time or was this part time?
No, it was a full-time commitment.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I just, and at that time, it was at the old Beach Cities office.
Sure. Yeah.
And my cubicle was right next to all the commercial guys.
Mm.
And those guys were, I mean, they just were
Those are dialers, yeah.
Yeah. So that was a good place for me to kind of learn that aspect.
Yeah.
And then for my own marketing, I also did, I always hear Fred Howard say there's three ways that you can get leads. You can pay for them, and now I forget the line, or you can find them.
Right, exactly. Yeah, definitely. In our industry, it's like hunting, right? The beauty of what we do is, and the awesome part of it is that we just never know where business is coming. We can have a candid conversation with someone that will lead us to an opportunity. That's the awesome part of what we do. But if we're not out there at least making an effort and a commitment to talk to people and ultimately tell them what we do, then we're being like a secret agent. And this is where you see agents that are doing a lot of business and agents that are not. Right? And this is a prime example that you're so into it that you already understand every element of it, and this is why you see results.
Yeah. It's interesting. I have even gone to the point of, if I'm going to be socializing with people, say in Long Beach, I know I'm going to see them, so I do my research and everything so that I know what I can talk about, because everybody wants to ask you, so how's the market? And I need to have those answers.
Beautiful. That's brilliant. Especially if you're going to go to a specific area and start doing your, stats and checking. Because you're right, a lot of people, that's one of the first components and elements, right? They say, well, tell me, Joe, how's the market today?
Yeah, and there's the standard reply, well, are you buyer or seller?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you want to know about? If you're a seller, it's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. And what if I'm a buyer?
If you're a buyer, if you know what you want and you have your financing in order, then we can go out and find a house for you.
Yeah.
It may take a little longer right now.
Yeah.
The last buyer I had, we worked together for 4 months. I don't know how many offers we wrote.
Yeah.
But it was in North Orange County, and we just kept going back, and finally we were able to get the deal done.
Get the deal done. That's amazing. So going back to your first year, did you have a mentor, or did you just kind of learn through the first year?
Yeah, it was interesting. I didn't know where I wanted to work. So I interviewed a couple of different brokerages.
Okay.
And at the Keller Williams in El Segundo, somebody that was a family acquaintance, Abby Waddell. And I chose her to be my mentor. At that time, it was 3 deals a day. But I still call her today.
And it's so funny that you say that, because a lot of us, especially like myself, being in the industry almost 30 years myself too, you always go back and think about the person that influenced you, kind of helped you through your first couple of deals, right? Unfortunately, my mentor passed away. He was already, I think at the time, think he was in his sixties. He was still working real estate part-time, and he worked for the school district full-time. But he was a consistent closer, and when I spoke with the broker, he says, I'm gonna put you with your new mentor. And we hit it off right away. And just his tactics, his techniques, he had such a charisma that, it made me feel very comfortable. Now, remember, this was back in the 90s. This is before technology. This is before websites. This is before, all these smartphones that we have. So everything was face-to-face interaction. We used to negotiate terms with the listing agent and the seller there at the house. We would present the offer. It's like going on an interview, right? And it was just a fascinating way that it opened up my eyes that I wish we could bring that back. But now with technology, emails, DocuSign, that's kind of on the sideways now. But it defines, the importance of having a good mentor, especially in your first year of real estate, right? Because that's the magnet, the stickiness, right, that will ultimately get you to produce and becoming a professional and efficient real estate agent,
Yeah. It's interesting when you talk about doing the negotiation face to face.
Yeah.
That's one of the things about submitting an offer, or considering an offer. Part of my evaluation is this guy going to be able or woman going to be able to get this to the finish line?
Yeah.
Because that's really important, and that it's challenging to convey that to somebody just by email or just by text.
Yeah. No, it's so important. But one thing that I really admire of you, Joe, is that, throughout the years, you've always been very proactive, in your engagement. Even with these competitions that we have here, you're one of the first to say, I'll commit to it, even though it may be a little uncomfortable, right? Because and being in front of an audience and trying to do, role-playing scripts, negotiations, it's not easy, right? But you always come up to the plate and do what you know best. And that's what's very important for all of us, is to kind of see every unique way that every individual agent does their their negotiations, and ultimately the importance of role playing scripts and all that fun stuff, right?
Well, it's interesting. I was after you invited me, I crossed paths with Bob Walker.
Yeah.
Kitchen. I said, so you must be busy on Friday. Why aren't you doing this?
Yeah.
And I told him, he goes, I don't know what you're talking about. So I told him. And he goes, that's good. You need to get out of your comfort zone. And so even just something like this, being able to talk and do stuff. And I do think that is real.
Yeah.
And, as well as formal training. I heard a conversation the other day, a new agent was saying that they didn't really understand all the different aspects of the contract. And they were being told that that's why we have training. You should come in to do the contract classes and that sort of thing. Other designations, as an accredited property valuation specialist,
Yeah.
and a certified negotiation expert, I can put that on my business card.
Yeah.
My emails and stuff. So, and I think I gained a lot of skill going through the process to get those designations.
Yeah.
But people just kind of think, okay, well, I can trust him.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think having a little bit of life experience helps a lot tremendously, for sure.
It's so some of the business that I get now is actually the kids of clients.
Yeah.
And that's always a great validation. Is a parent said, okay, you need to go by house, go talk to Joe.
Yeah.
And then another one, I was walking into their house and they said, hey, everybody, our realtors here. And I'm like, you don't know how much that warms my heart.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's good. It's because you've obviously penetrated an area where people know that you are a real estate professional. You know, that really shows a lot. Where's your most of your business come from?
Um, Most of it comes from, well, this past year, it has been, referrals from past clients. But normally it's from my direct mail campaign or online campaigns and, just going through that, those postcards every month.
Okay, tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, I use a system called SmartZip. So they do the algorithm to decide the 20% that are most likely to sell.
Okay,
And I have that database and I can go through the database focuses on North Torrance and Gardena.
got it. Yeah, okay, so that's kind of your area.
Yeah. And the reason I chose that area, when I first got into real estate, I was talking to a pastor. And it's going, yeah, I'm trying to figure out where I should do my farming stuff. I go, who's the realtor in your neighborhood? He goes, I don't know. I'm like, well, you're gonna find out.
Yes. And that's how it started.
Yeah, that's why I chose that area.
Yeah. Do you, Joe, do you do a lot of open houses?
I do, I wouldn't say a lot, but I do them just to get out there. I mean, sometimes there's not business and I need to talk to people.
Sure.
I'll do them pretty much, anywhere from Long Beach up to Hawthorne to the ocean.
Yeah.
It's sometimes I get a little too picky.
Yeah.
It's like, how long has this been on?
Right.
And I have to remind myself that every single day, new people come to the market.
Sure.
So if a house has been sitting for 45 days, but they've never seen it, I could help them buy it.
Yeah, that's an opportunity for sure.
And the other thing on open houses is, if you can do it on holiday weekend or Super Bowl weekend, it's a sacrifice. But I always tell myself that these people must be serious if they're out here looking for houses on a holiday weekend.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's so important, and thank you for sharing, because it's a commitment, and as you said, it's a sacrifice, you know. We may see it as a sacrifice, but other people may not be into sports,
Yeah,
you know, so that's an opportunity there for you, you know, because we don't know. Yeah, for us, it's like, oh gosh, you know, we're gonna be very tied to see the playoffs or, you know, the Super Bowl, whatever the case may be. But that's where you'll see some of the most serious clients that are coming in that are, you know, really ready to buy something, you know, so.
yeah. One of my more recent clients, we had a couple. I'm a hockey fan and a baseball fan.
Yeah.
Not on their radar at all. And so it was just kind of funny, but we found other ways to connect and develop a professional relationship.
Yeah. Joe, let me ask you, when going on a listing appointment, tell us a little bit of how your preparation for that. What do you do?
Well, I do the standard pricing process. I have my listing presentation that I go through where I go item by item of talking about the process of selling a home. Thinking about how much effort is it gonna take to get this sell? Perhaps it's ready to go, that sort of thing. So I kind of look at all those factors. And, do the drive-by and everything and, just try to get a feel for the neighborhood. So that I can talk knowledgeably to somebody about their neighborhood. And if it's in my farm, I know it. I can say, go Spartans.
Yeah.
I can talk to them about the local schools, the different things. And, those little things can kind of make it appear that, or demonstrate that I do know their neighborhood pretty well.
Yeah. Well, you said that a little earlier too, is identifying different things, right? That you can have a conversation around it. You know, and I think it's important for the audience to also understand that, you know, if you do your homework, right, you do your research. And the cool thing is with everything that we have now, the technology, you can do a lot of digging. not in a creepy way, right? But ultimately to really get an understanding of their personality, right? What do they like? What do they dislike, right? And if you can have that upper advantage, right, when you go on a listing appointment or even a buyer on a consultation, you'll get a sense in how to direct that conversation because the end goal is to get the listing signed and have the opportunity to help them sell the property, right? But I think even like uh, going into the property drive-by, right, and getting a feel, if you see a football flag, then you'll know that they're into football or college or high school, right? Just a talking point that you can kind of break the ice. Because I know that when you go on a listing appointment, it's like breaking the ice, right? Either you're selling them on the reason they should list with you, or they're selling you on the reason not to list with you, right? So I think it's important to have that key eye view of what can I use as a conversation piece.
Yeah. Uh, I had one where it was, I'll call it a vintage automobile.
There you go. Yeah,
It, it's needed some repairs and stuff, but it's like, wow. It was one of those classic VW vans.
yeah.
It's like, whose is that? It's just, and they, I think it was her grandfather's. And,
Was that part of the package deal with the house?
I'm gonna clear. Or I got another one though where we may throw some in that
Yeah.
they haven't moved yet.
Or was Joe trying to buy that vehicle?
Yeah, no, I don't have enough parking space.
I hear you. Awesome. Good information. Um, tell us a little bit about a difficult transaction that you were able to navigate and ultimately get it to the finish line.
Um, well, there's one that was like early on in my career. It was a flip, place had been remodeled and everything. So the investors were pretty stringent on holding the line on price.
Yeah.
Um, so we put in an offer, the multiple counter. Um, and we come back, we were able to come up a little bit more. And they came back and said, no, this is the number. And it was the sort of thing where we had nowhere to go, but they really wanted the house and we're not going to walk away. And I really learned something important is because I just imagined that everybody else got tired with the process.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, this is ridiculous. And we went through that 3 times. And it really taught me a lot. I had one other one that was a deal where I didn't think, once we started doing the physical inspection, I was like, I saw the termite guy come out and he looked shaken. He's like, I thought it was gonna fall through the roof.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just sitting there. Like, when I saw him walking, I'm like, okay, we're done here. But I let my client make that choice. I'm like, okay, so you want to look at the report? He goes, yeah. And, that again, that's that preconceived thing is I misread it. He was very willing to do all that work that was necessary on that house after he bought it. So I don't know if there's real negotiation things, but it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, and that's the cool thing about what we do, right? We just never know some of the obstacles, some of the challenges. And, in the chaos of it, right? Sometimes everything goes smooth and then all of a sudden it goes sideways immediately, right? It's our job to be able to navigate it back and get back in the lane. But it takes a commitment. It takes thinking maybe 2, 3 steps ahead, how you can maneuver this. Because once it goes sideways, most likely the deal is going to fall apart, right? And again, good communications with the other agent too, right? Because the end goal is what? It's to close the deal. Get the seller to sell their home, get the buyer the home that they submitted an offer, right? Our job is to be able to maneuver that conversation and see the bigger picture instead of letting it fall apart. And the problem that I see with a lot of agents is, they give up too quickly, you know? But you have to have that key, view is think outside the box for a little bit, you know, and you definitely have the support too, you know, and I know you're always, you know, it's far and few that you have conversations with me, but when I see you in my office, I know there's a problem.
Yeah, and that's, I would say that the people watching, you know, spending time in the office is really good because you have an opportunity to ask a lot of questions. Um, and I've asked a lot in the past 6 to 8 months probably. And I've always learned something on a transaction. Uh, I had one recently where it came down to the HOA financing. It's like, how bad is this?
Yeah.
And we kept digging and digging and it took forever and, you know, it was really bad. And I presented all the information to my buyer. And like, so what do you guys think? And they're like, well, what's your opinion? They go on a scale of 1 to 10, how crazy is this? I go, it's probably an 8. You know, it's pretty bad. And I go, for this price point, it's probably only a 6 bet because it was $350,000. So you're gonna expect a lot of maintenance issues at that price point.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it was their decision. My job was to give them all the information possible and let them make that choice. And so we'll be looking again in the fall. That deal did not go through.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't.
Well, and we're seeing a lot more, especially condos, townhomes with HOAs. We're having a lot of issues with insurance. Very low amount of money on reserves.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of challenges with that as well. So awesome. So Joe, one of the biggest wins in your career that you can say, man, this was an awesome feeling. We won. And that could be personal or even professional.
I would say the first house I sold kind of falls into that category.
We always remember our first.
Yeah.
It's like it's a statement.
Yeah, exactly.
Or first kiss, right?
But I showed the couple the house and they're leaving and the husband turns around and he goes, I want this house. And I'm like, okay, way overpriced. And so it was interesting going through that and working with the other agent who actually is a Marine officer. And so it was really, there was a lot of stuff in there on price and negotiations and, you know, quibbling over a refrigerator. And it's like, okay, come on, it's an $800,000 house, and we're arguing over a refrigerator. But to get through that process was really cool.
Yeah, yeah. And so those are the small wins, right? Small wins and sometimes the big wins, because even the little things that may not be something that we would really think of it may be a significant thing for a buyer or seller.
Yeah.
So it's important to be a good listener and understand the characteristics of your clients, because again, that can also kill the deal. And this is where, you know, the deal falls apart.
And everybody has their line, right? Their line in the sand that they won't. And that's why you just have to tread lightly on it, see what you can do.
Yeah. What does this year look like for you? Has it been easy, tough, kind of same?
It's getting a little better, I would say. You know, between personal referrals and the interest from the database.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to a good second quarter, wrapping up and getting some momentum going into the summertime.
Yeah.
You know, enjoy those long, we have them right now, the long nights, so that you can go show houses and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely love this this time, because you definitely have more light up there for sure.
Yeah.
So, well, Joe, I appreciate your time. You are awesome. Thank you so much for taking time on a Friday, on a holiday weekend, to come and chat with the group. And we definitely appreciate you. Keep doing what you do best.
Thanks for inviting me.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Joe. And that
Thanks,
concludes.
Joe. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, everyone. This concludes our producer's mindset. We will see you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Joe. Thanks, Simon.
Thanks. Thanks again.